Hello and welcome back to the Endgame. We are here in Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, which in my opinion works very well next to the previous Monster Hunters that I've been playing. I did Monster Hunter Freedom twice in a row. This is going to have a rather different flavour to Monster Hunter Freedom, which is pretty much what I'm looking for. I just realised that I didn't bring any coatings for my bow, but that might be okay. It usually isn't okay because that's a very common mistake that I make when departing on a quest with the bow. But I think this bow doesn't shoot power coatings, and I wouldn't be minded to shoot status coatings for this particular hunt. You'll notice that I'm not visible on the screen. Whoops, sorry about that. Speaking of the screen going crazy. You'll notice that I'm not visible. That's because I've moved into a new recording space, and my lighting situation is far from optimal. It's extremely suboptimal, and so therefore I don't even want to be visible for it. Basically, it's a very pale, cool, white light, and I look pallid and unpresentable when recording with that sort of lighting, so I'm not really interested in doing that. And that's alright, I've already been experimenting with being off-camera for most of the live stream anyway, so that you can listen to my voice in perhaps a slightly more immersed state. I don't know if that's either helpful or useful, but whatever. That's what I've been doing. Zod is quite... we did actually have a previous attempt at this hunt, which went terribly. It was the event quest version, and we failed within about 2 minutes. And Zod was very assiduously making use of the wall during that quest, so I think he would like to continue doing that. There's no reason not to use the wall, to be honest. My instincts are something along the lines of never use the wall when fighting Elatrion, and the only reason why is because back in Monster Hunter Tri, there was an old wives' tale that if you used the wall, it would severely reduce your chances of getting sky piercers, which is, I'm pretty sure, completely unsubstantiated, completely unfounded, but entirely in keeping with the way things used to be during Monster Hunter Tri, the way that rumors would be spread within the community about things that, quite frankly, there was no evidence to support. Just suspicion. And, yeah. People erring on the side of not losing out on getting a sky piercer. I hate the way people use err on the side of as a phrase. I really hate it because err means making a mistake. So the nuance of the phrase is actually that if you're going to make a mistake, you would rather do the mistake for the right reasons. You know, that's actually what it's meant to be. It's not... people often miss that nuance, and I think I sort of failed to miss it there as well, but that's alright. Just a brief rant about the English language that I will try not to bore you with, but... I'm using raw damage at the moment because I find that to be the most consistent against Elatrion. Of course, you are rewarded quite handsomely if you're able to get... high dragon damage and high ice damage in a single hunt. But I don't really feel like using, for example, Elemental Light Bowgun, which would be an excellent way to do that. Consistent damage is best done with raw. I understand that Monster Hunter World changed that. In Monster Hunter World, you were very, very strongly incentivized to use elemental damage. I'm going to... probably not Farcast, actually, but I'll just move away from the monster and close my window because it is very loud with the birds outside. Alright, fortunately, Elatrion has not decided to take advantage of me. Nope. Okay. God damn it. So we've already broken one horn, that's pretty good. I suppose that's because we were making use of the wall, and that really is the best thing to do with the wall, aim for the horns. That's pretty much the entire purpose of the thing. I still haven't double-checked to make sure that my bow does not use power coatings. I'm almost certain that it doesn't. See, when I see a big grey... a greyed-out screen of coatings that can be used, or I suppose can't be used, it makes me feel so much better about the fact that I always forget to bring coatings. Because it means I'm already doing the best sort of damage that I can with this bow. It's good stuff. Apparently my sound is more clear now. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. It is better when I'm close-mic'd. Oh, do you know why it sounds clearer? It's because I'm really, really close-mic'd. I'm pretty much right up on the diaphragm of the microphone because I don't need to worry about it covering my face with the webcam. It's funny, I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference in terms of distance. It's really, like, we're talking about millimeters of difference, but it, yeah, it does make a slight difference. The closer I am to the microphone, the clearer it is, because the way it works in principle is that when you've got a microphone, you're recording a sound source, right? Now, the more sound you're getting directly from the source, the clearer it's going to be. As soon as you start to have the source a little bit further away from the microphone will also be picking up the sound of the room. That's called room noise. And room noise is essentially your voice, or the sound, from the source, interacting with the space. It's sort of reflecting off the walls, and it creates a different sort of sound characteristic to what is coming directly from the source in this case being my voice. And so if I'm really, really close to the microphone, you're not getting any of that room noise. The signal-to-noise ratio, essentially, is as favorable as possible towards getting the exact sound from the source, i.e. my voice. Sorry, that was a little bit esoteric, but the point is that the best-case scenario, especially with this microphone that I'm using, is for me to be as close as possible. However, two things. This, therefore, requires me to have the windscreen on the microphone because that prevents plosives. It prevents wind from my mouth going into the diaphragm of the microphone and creating annoying sounds. And second of all, when I have the windscreen installed, it means that half of my face is covered by it. So, yeah, when you're recording with a webcam, basically it's all about compromise, and that is essentially recording in a nutshell. You're always making a compromise. It's very rare that you're going to have perfect recording conditions. You just have to make a compromise here and there depending on what you're going for. And when I don't have to worry about a webcam at all, you're going to get the best possible sound out of me. That's just how it works. And thank God for that. Because if you can only listen to me, you would hopefully want to get me in the best possible quality. And that's my TED Talk over. Nope. Just noticed that Crazy Demand, or Demond, is using a weapon that honestly is not particularly good for this quest. I would not be using a gun lance that was Dragon Element. Back in the Try days, there was this misunderstanding. Oh my god, that was very quick. It was basically the opposite experience to what we just had with the event version. I reckon we maybe can hack it, as they say in Australia, with the event version. I think we can do that. With that damage output, I think we could get the event done within 15 minutes. Anyway, the point that I was going to make just before was that back in Try, it was very common for people to use Dragon Element weapons against Elatrion, thinking that Elatrion was always weak to Dragon. But of course, you've got the land mode and the flight mode. But I suppose now that I think about it, the strongest weapons in Try were Dragon Element, whether you were taking advantage of the dragon damage or not, so maybe that's not a good example. Kushai is screaming in the chat that it's Crazy Diamond, which is a JoJo reference. Okay. Well, I never watched JoJo, so neither in the old days nor in recent times. I also haven't read it either. I remember saying to someone that it looked like a comedy anime, or at the very least an anime that didn't take itself seriously. And the person that I said that to was like, what do you mean? Well, every single screenshot, or rather GIF that you see of that series is very silly. And everyone is basically in drag, or so it seems. But apparently it's also quite a serious series, I don't really know. Whoops, I accidentally put away hot drinks. So yeah, it's simultaneously serious but also silly, I guess? I don't know. Men in makeup doing silly things, but also it's a very serious show. I don't know. Kushala says it's seriously bizarre. Which is probably for the better. You need a little bit of eccentricity in fiction. Yeah, so Dragon Pierce bow against Elatrion is excellent, because essentially what you're doing is using the best possible weapon type for when Elatrion is weak to dragon, because he's in flight mode. Generally speaking, if you're using a Blade Master weapon with Dragon Element, you're not really going to be able to get maximum damage when the monster's actually weak to Dragon. But as I said, the example that I gave of Monster Hunter Tri being quite a... or rather, where it is a standard experience in Monster Hunter Tri where people are using Dragon weapons against Elatrion, that's really not to do with the elemental weakness, I don't think. It's more to do with the fact that Elatrion weapons and Deviljho weapons in that game were automatically very, very strong. Hapuraboka. Haven't seen that in a while. That's Nibblesnarf, basically. Metal Gear Solid Hunter Eater Mission. This guy has a different translation to me. That's an older translation. It's basically... I've got the 2013 translation. He might have an older one. He might have like a 2011 or something like that. So I think this is Giant Nibblesnarf. But it's a Metal Gear Solid event quest, so you should be getting Metal Gear Solid music. That's how it is, at least for the Glacial Agnaktor. And is it Baleful Giganox? I don't remember the other monster. Changing weapons. N10's describing this as a prehistoric patch. Yeah, it sure is. What does that make this game then? This game is like... I don't know, the... what's older than prehistoric? Because prehistoric is quite a... I guess the genesis of life itself? I don't know. Prehistoric is a very wide... and general term to refer to anything, because it's prehistoric, anything before written history, I guess. Alright. Maybe we can say this is from the Cambrian period, this game, by comparison. What would I like to use against Giant Nibblesnarf? I'll use a Blade Master weapon because I'm feeling like I want to take a chance. Ice Dual Blades. Let's do it. Snow Sisters. Ew. Why can't I have Barrioff Dual Blades? They're not in this game. And so, here we are with Lagombi Dual Blades, I suppose. They just don't look like they're going to be very effective. But I'm pretty sure the stats are fine. I don't think I've got any textures installed for this game. I do for Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Like, the icons for Freedom Unite are actual textured ones that I've loaded in. The way it works for anti-aliasing, I believe it's called. I mean, I know what anti-aliasing is, but I just mean within the settings of PPSSPP, I believe it's anti-aliasing that does this. But it has a weird delayed reaction where it'll start off looking pixelated and then it'll get really smooth with the icons. I don't know if you can see... Is there an example I can show? Do you see that? How this updated in 2 stages. I went to page 4 of this item box. It started off pixelated and then in 2 stages it got really smooth. That's like this weird delayed anti-aliasing feature that does not synergize very well with Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. I would like to get higher resolution icons. I'm sure they might exist by now. They didn't when I got everything set up for emulating this game. But admittedly, that was like 7 years ago, so... things have probably improved. Who would have thought? Yeah, this is the PS3 version. HD version, in other words. So I'm kind of shocked that even with the PS3 version, or HD version assets, the icons actually look that low resolution. I don't really understand it, but whatever. I probably should definitely look into texture mods that are not fancy. I mean, you can get some really ridiculous texture mods for Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. I've explained this before. There's a particular one that offended me so tremendously when I first saw it that I almost felt sick. That you can basically make everything neon green in the fucking game. I don't know what that's about, but there you go. Metal Gear Solid. I haven't actually checked the game volume. I can probably up it a little bit. Let's up it a little bit. Not by much. Cool. So yeah, the giant Nibblesnarf is also in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, but he is an arena quest, which makes the fight a lot harder, actually. Because you need to negotiate the gigantic size of the monster in an arena that is honestly not designed for monsters this big. And it's quite funny. Especially when he's doing his sand beam attack, or sand breath, whatever you want to call it. It's quite intimidating to have so much of the arena space covered by one single attack. I much prefer having giant monsters to fight in the locale. I mean, this is a large area, right? Area 9 of the desert. It feels like it can accommodate a monster this big. The same can be said of giant rusted Uramboros in 3 Ultimate. But the arena just feels totally inappropriate. It's simultaneously funny, but also inappropriate, so... I don't know, I'm in two minds about it, but I will say that I do prefer this. I'd say this is appropriate music for fighting a giant Nibblesnarf. It got quiet just as I said, though. It's quite dramatic music. A sort of final boss battle type of music. I haven't really played much Metal Gear. I played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, I think it was. But I don't remember much. I really don't have much experience with it. Which of course means that I miss out on all of the lovely references pertaining to Metal Gear. Mostly Solid Snake references. But, whatever. I have lived an entire life of not knowing what the fuck people are talking about when they make pop culture references, so I'm well equipped to deal with not being able to find it funny. Of course, one of the problems with having such a gigantic Nibblesnarf is that the tip of the nose is really difficult to hit. He's got 2 hit zones on his head. He's got sort of like a standard... I think his head might even be a body hit zone. If it's not, then the head itself is not a very good hit zone, but the tip of the nose is a good hit zone. And obviously when he's this gigantic and you can't even reach the tip of the nose, it's not exactly ideal, but as you can see, even if you're not dealing perfect damage on the weak point, this thing just dies if you've got a group of 4 people. Oh my god. Danny EXE is trying to join. Well, we've got a full room, so... This, of course, is one of the problems with playing with a full group in Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. The monsters are simply too weak. They can't really handle you. They cannot contend with a full group. Well, a full high-rank group, we'll say. I didn't end up checking the stats of my dual blades, so maybe some of you are curious. I'll have a look after this. Big Boss title. That's my 4th ticket. Maybe I'll be able to forge something if I do the quest one more time. Yeah, he's better in the desert than in the arena. Okay, so the stats of these dual blades are... They're not on the monster list, you mug. 215 and 30 ice with pretty decent sharpness if you have sharpness +1. Very appropriate. Don't even need the barrier with dual blades, surprisingly. Come at me, Jen Moran. Is that really the name of the quest? I have to make sure that this guy doesn't inadvertently post an illegal custom quest. I need to be aware of this. Because if you're going to post a custom quest, it needs to be approved by Hunsterverse. And it's possible that this guy might post something that's not allowed. And then I could ban him, which would bring joy to many people. Because this guy's got a bit of a reputation, but... Look, he has comported himself and behaved with dignity during this live stream, so I'm not really on the edge of my seat waiting for him to post an illegal custom quest so I can ban him, okay? I'm feeling pretty relaxed about him at the moment. Alright, Genmoran. How about we use a gun lance on Genmoran? I don't do that very often. May even do this. Chariot gun. That would be appropriate. Let's bring this. I mean, are there any other dragon gun lances that I would use instead? I don't think you can make the Genmoran gun lance in this game. And if you can, I didn't make it. I have a feeling the Genmoran gun lance was a 3 ultimate thing, but I could be wrong. I might be misremembering. Yep, the new house is very good. It's very remote, very much in the bush. And so I'm having to use Starlink to interface with the wider world, but aside from that, yeah, it's pretty good. Lots of wildlife. I'm on an acreage property, so... Get everything. Get kangaroos, you get deer, interestingly. Get rabbits, obviously. Wildlife, long story short. It's been a very big, I suppose, scenery change. Previously I was right on the beach, now I'm in the bush. Which means I get to check my my fire app. I mean, in fact, we have a fire just up the road. So, that's great. Well, we had one. I think it's been dealt with now. The easy answer, Mad Duck, is that an opportunity came up, and we decided to take it. So, I was quite happy where I was, but also, if a better opportunity presents itself, you go for it, you know? It's definitely the case that you have to be vigilant. Like, I'm not that worried about it, because you can generally see a history of when a place completely burnt to the fucking ground. And it hasn't happened in recent years here, and by recent years I mean, like, I don't think there's a record of it happening in the 20th century, so that's always helpful, but it happens, you know, if you get the right conditions and the fire starts in the right place, you know, this whole place could just turn into an absolute firestorm, so... Yeah, you just have to be aware of it. What that entails is that you check an app. It's the Rural Fire Service app. And there's a webpage as well. And you just keep up to date with fires. It's very unlikely that a fire is going to start and then within hours your place will be inundated with fire. Usually you'll get maybe a 6-hour lead-in, even in bad conditions. But, yeah. It's just something to be aware of, I guess. We've had lots of fires coming up. It's meant to be 38 degrees Celsius today, so... And it's dry, so... Yeah. Fire is a danger. And it's... people, obviously, their familiarity with fires in Australia might be informed slightly by the big fires of 2019, if you guys still remember that. Remember, well, it was more like early 2020 when the world realized it. Basically, from October 2019 through till maybe February 2020, before COVID, Australia was being assailed by massive fires. It went on to be called Black Summer. And obviously that was particularly bad, but yeah, we get hit with wildfires in a way that isn't really matched by other countries, because you see, our native trees actually fuel the fire, because eucalyptus trees are flammable in a way that normal trees are not. What they do is they literally have airborne fluid that fuels the fire without it even needing to be in contact with the trees. Now, what that means is that you can get a towering wall of flame that goes into the sky, okay? So you've got basically fire igniting in the atmosphere, and also this means that it can spread into other locations much more easily, so it's like fucking flying around. Well, what happened here? I did not keep track of what was going on. I was too busy talking. It turns out that we're now doing a completely different quest to Jen Moran, which is very disappointing. But anyway, long story short, fires in Australia are a thing of true terror. But that's alright. As they say, I like to live dangerously. The same for me, Hossein. I definitely take it for granted. This is the first time I've lived not close to the beach, to be honest. I hate quests like these. I prefer to use smoke bombs with quests like these, but fine. I had no idea what we were doing. I was a little bit too engrossed in what I was talking about. I should be using this as a wyvern fire opportunity. Oh, for fuck's sake. This is exactly why I'm not very keen on this setup. The idea that we've got a Diablos running around as well as trying to fight Uragan. Not good, because obviously Diablos is the perfect monster to run you down when you're distracted. He literally charges around and then will also pop up underneath you. So, not a good combination. What is this quest? It's Famitsu. I don't remember what it gives. In fact, I was meant to check to see what the Metal Gear Solid ticket was going to give me. It's one of, I believe, 2 Metal Gear Solid tickets that you can get in the game, and to be honest with you, I don't remember what the other one gives you either. I remember many of the event equipment. Well, I remember a lot of the event equipment that you can get in Portable Third, but I don't remember where you get them from, if that makes sense. It's really only Monster Hunter Tri that I remember the source of the tickets from. Even 3 Ultimate, I'm like, I don't really know. I'm attacking Uragan first without really watching to see what other people are fighting, because Uragan is the only thing that's weak to what I have. Because again, I wasn't paying attention and didn't realize that we were fighting something different. I wonder what I would have brought if I had known that this was the quest we were doing. I'm not sure, but it definitely wouldn't have been this. Yeah, Kushala, if you could just distract that Diablos for the next 3 minutes, that would be awesome. Looks like you've already failed in your task. You failed in the task that I arbitrarily set for you and that you have no hope of completing. Or achieving. I can't really get a decent combo out if you haven't noticed. The only way to proceed is to be patient. That's all you can do. Just wait for your opportunity. We seem to have a bit of an even split going on. I can see that Zod has a trap down, but I think it's a little bit along the lines of 2 of us fighting one and 2 of us fighting the other. And by the looks of it, we've got the 2 Dragon Gunlance users fighting the monster that's weak to dragons, so that's pretty good, actually. Because I have guard up, I was able to block the stench, by the way. Not a widely known thing, I don't think. That if you've got a status-based attack that you're blocking, you can only block the status itself if you've got guard up. And that might actually be wrong. It might not be status in general, it might just be a stench thing. Stench and sleep, I would guess? It might be widely known when it comes to Giganox, but yeah. Because I think when it comes to the big Giganox poison cloud attack, I think you need guard up to block that in any event. But of course, in the case of stench, it goes through your shield unless you've got guard up. Another example of a monster that does that would be Volvodon. Missed my last one, though. I don't want to speak too soon, but I feel that I've been left alone by the Diablos. And I'm enjoying it. Oh. You also need to be quite aware of those shit rocks. Oh, that one's... Oh, never mind. I was about to say that the shit rock had turned into a normal rock, but the effect just wasn't coming out for a while. I do obviously have another Wyvern Fire to get out. Not the most fun kind of hunt, to be honest. Sharpness time, or sharpening time. I don't... this is a good time for a Wyvern Fire, but do you know what? I don't have the heart to do a Wyvern Fire with green sharpness. Fortunately, as a result of the exhaustion, that ended up working out very well. Yeah. Very good. Nicely done. That's very, very clear evidence that it was basically an even split for the duration of the hunt. We had 2 people fighting Diablos and 2 people fighting Uragan. That actually worked out very, very well. What is it now? I don't even remember what you gave me before. I was too busy. Oh, you gave me your semen. Okay. It would have been quite natural in the circumstances for you to maybe pooed a little bit, but to have actually ejaculated, that's interesting. You're obviously well built for stressful situations. That's what you want. Because if you had given me dung, I could have imagined why you would have that on hand after a quest like that. Okay. If you don't want that shock trap, you can just give it to me, you know. In fact, you can give me the materials that are required to make it. I'm always happy to have more materials, if you're willing to waste them. I always think that. Like, when I see someone throwing flash bombs for fun, I'm just like, hey, give them to me. Like, if you don't want them, I'll take them. I'm more than happy to have extra flash bombs, you know? I don't usually have them in my inventory, I'll definitely have the space. And people dropping bombs for fun. Hey, you know what? Give me some fucking scatterfish. Do you know what I mean? Like, give me some scatterfish. If they're not precious to you, I'll take them, motherfucker. Let's see what's on the board next. So far, this room has been pretty good. It's what I was hoping. In other words, there's no grinding objective. Oh, now we've got the actual Jen Moran fight. Okay. I would have enjoyed using this against Jen Moran, but indeed, I don't want to be using the same thing twice, so I've lost my chance. Speaking of which, I do need to check to see what that ticket makes. That Metal Gear Solid ticket. Hopefully I can find this quickly, because otherwise they might depart without me. I think I've already got the Homa no Tsurugi. Negima is a little bit unknown. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mahou Sensei Negima. I was vaguely aware of it when this game came out, but yeah, it's alright. I would encourage you not to watch the 2006 anime called Negima. Watch the one that came before it, 2005. Mahou Sensei Negima. That one's a bit better. It's got terrible promotional artwork. I can assure you that it looks better in the actual anime. Keep that in mind. It may even be better to watch or read the original stuff as well. Oh, it's cat armor? Okay. Well, I would have had no hope finding that. So, how do you do that again? There's a separate person, that's right. Blacksmith. Play it. Sneaking suit. Confidential box. Ooh. Doesn't look like it, unless it's a weapon. Could be a weapon. I can see why, yeah, so one of them... So, remember there are two special items that you get from Metal Gear Solid quests. It seems that you're correct that one of the Metal Gear Solid items gives you cat materials, but the other one, the one from Giant Nibblesnarf, seems to give you something else. I'm not going to take the time to figure it out now, because I will have this group of people leave without me, almost certainly, if I were to try and take that time. What should I bring? How about sword shell? You know what? Let's be absolutely off the charts awesome. Let's bring the Exodus Sword and Shield. One of the coolest sword and shields in the series, by the way. I absolutely fell in love with these weapon designs back in Monster Hunter Tri. The Epitaph Blade, the Exodus Sword and Shield, oh my god. couldn't get enough of it. I used to use the Epitaph Blade knowing that it was considerably worse than the Elatrion Revolution and the oh wow, what was the Devil Joe Greatsword called again in that game? Anguish. So Anguish and Elatrion Revolution, they were considerably better than the Epitaph Blade, but they didn't look as cool. Not in my opinion. But interestingly, the Elatrion Revolution was a little bit of a status symbol in Monster Hunter Tri back in the old days. It was wielded almost by a certain type of person. Everyone else, like the average person, would use Anguish, right? But the guy who would walk around with Elatrion Revolution was almost a... not necessarily in a different category, or a different tier of hunter, but definitely a different category, I guess. Hold on. What am I doing? All right. Anyway, that was my perception of it at the time. I think it's because pretty much everyone that I encountered who was HR 700 and above would not use Anguish. And in hindsight, I suppose it's because they got sick of using it. That's probably why. And I can definitely relate. I used that a lot. Okay. Dovita describes my sword and shield as epic sauce. What else is there? We've got cool beans. How about cool beans? We've got, if that's the only one that's coming to mind. There's been so many terrible phrases throughout the years to describe something that's good. Based was the common one from the mid-2010s. You've got, of course, sick has gone a little bit out of... I mean, prior to that it was... in Australia, we had fully sick. We had... And then there was also... sick as. Mate, that's sick as. In the US, particularly in the 80s and 90s, I believe it was wicked sick. Man, that's wicked sick. Anyway, I'm not going to start going through the whole list. It's quite extensive and ridiculous. This Jamaran is having a bad time. Zod is not a good host. Or at least on this occasion he isn't. So much win? Oh my god. And of course 3 letters became much too time consuming to type, so now people just type W, I suppose. Ain't that an evolution of culture? To describe this loadout that I've got, it is entirely based around this sword and shield. Specifically, it tries to address the fact that this sword and shield is very good elementally, but quite lacking in terms of physical damage. So, 95. 95. Not very good. To be clear, not very good. So, remember, that is true raw, so it's not as bad as it looks, but still, it's not good. My end result is 140 raw with 72 dragon. Pretty good. Not too bad at all. Remember, 72 dragon is 720 true element. That's very impressive for a sword and shield. But yes, the armor skills that I have here are designed to give me as much damage as possible with the sword and shield. Alright. Once he stops reacting here, I need to move forward so as to avoid the tail attack. Oh, he's flinching again. Tail attack or not? Okay. I might be embarrassing myself, and in actual fact the tail attack, you know, the attack where he raises his tail up, might actually just be a 3 ultimate thing. And I'm just getting confused. It's the curse that I have been... What's a verb other than curse? I mean, curse is a verb in and of itself. That I've had cast upon me. It's a curse that I've had cast upon me that when I come into these games over a very long period of time, I begin to forget what was in the different games, because you've got Tri, Portable Third, and 3 Ultimate. Kushala, that is... On a scale of 1 to 10 for being unacceptable, that is about an 11 for being unacceptable. That's extremely... That's like griefing. You're basically griefing people here. Look at that! That's incredible. You could spend an entire hunt griefing someone like this. Oh my god. Well, Zod had better play his cards right, otherwise someone's going to do that to him. It's quite easy to intentionally knock people off this boat, but that's quite brutal. Cannon ammo. It can, excuse me, it can reach from this distance. This Gemmaran's definitely going to be, well, I guess, incentivized to attack the boat in these circumstances. There's fucking... There are things to eat everywhere here. You've got us, you've got the meat. Alright, sharpness time. If this weapon were completely useless, I wouldn't use it, you know? But it does have a use. If a monster is very weak to dragon, and you boost the raw damage as much as you can of this sword and shield, it's okay. It's probably not amazing. Is that karma, or did you do that intentionally? I'm going to assume that's karma. It just feels like the right assumption to make. I tried to roll through that. Didn't quite work. What? Break the 2 spots on his back, will ya? Says Zod. That's true, I'm like... I think the only person who was doing it. Maybe Crazy was doing it, I don't know. I'm sure that was a good-natured comment from Zod. I don't think he even knows who I am. Wait, does he? Hold on. What did he call me? He called me Drac. Well, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know who I am. It doesn't matter one way or another, I don't care. Ugh. There we go. It's actually out of an interest to rehabilitate his reputation that I don't explain the history of Zod in this live stream. But if he is minded to reform himself, I will give him the benefit of not discussing his history on this live stream. Ugh. While I'm on the back, I may as well do this. There is a temptation to always sharpen back up to white, but it's a sword and shield, you know, it's not going to stay at white for very long. That's a pretty good amount of white sharpness for almost any weapon type, but with a sword and shield you do work through that quite quickly. I don't think this Gemmaran's going to last very long at all. Hello Ian, welcome to the live stream. Abandoned ship. I was going to do something very cinematic. I was going to do a 180-degree turn into a draw shield animation and block that, but I was a few frames off, unfortunately. At least I can explain what I wanted to do, and then you can imagine it in your mind, and then maybe also congratulate me for it. You can congratulate, in the hypothetical scenario, the fact that I was able to do that. Oh dear. Yeah, look at that. No Dragonator. Probably assisted by the fact that Zod is using heavy bowgun, and when I see a heavy bowgun, yeah, he's using Pierce. Usually if you see a heavy bowgun in a gen hunt, it's going to be Pierce, because you would be foolish to use anything else just about. What is the shot type that is going to be most effective against a monster this large? Very obviously Pierce. Dragon obviously would be good, but I would say, why can't we have both? Alright, I shall. Wait with patience. Zod wants the horns broken, apparently. Oh, I don't know if we can get in the mouth this far back. Let's just attack the side here. It feels like I'm getting a little bit of hit lag there, so I think that is still the mouth weak point that I'm hitting here. It feels a bit ambiguous as to whether it is the mouth weak point or not, but... Of course, hit lag is not as strong in this game as in other games, but it did feel perceptible. It felt like I was getting the mouth hit lag there. Could also have been wishful thinking, I don't know. Let's try to get this arm broken. I'm surprised that it's not broken, to be honest with you. I haven't really hit it much, but normally it's standard for it to be broken by the time you get to the final showdown. Maybe not standard, it's just common. I'll block the tremor. Oh, forget blocking the tremor, Jesus. My positioning was terrible. I made it sound as if I was so, well, not just sure of myself, but made it sound as if I knew exactly where I had positioned myself, ready to block the tremor. Nah, I just got squashed by a gen arm. Good stuff. Dovita says that he's both glad and I suppose also surprised that they got Gemmaran working on the PSP. Well, the saddest thing is that he's less glitchy here than he is in 3 Ultimate. That's how bad 3 Ultimate was. I mean, I love 3 Ultimate, but what I mean is that that game did not have much of a quality check going on with the end result. They messed up a lot of things with that game. It just so happens that they got enough things right that it's still probably my favorite Monster Hunter game. And as I've said before, that's Monster Hunter in a nutshell. A game that I can criticize as much as Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate ends up being my favorite in the series, so... It is an imperfect series. And I think the more you play it and the more you love it, the clearer the faults become. But it just goes to show that what they get right is so profoundly good that it tends to outweigh the negatives. But not always, you know. Sometimes we get games like Monster Hunter Rise and you'd rather puke in a bag and eat it again than play the game, so... It is what it is. Yeah, Gemaran, his first G-rank version, of course, was in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. My criticisms of him would not relate to his HP. I think he had appropriate HP for an Elder Dragon of his size in G-rank, but to be honest, the glitchiness, the way you would just be standing and fighting him and then you would just fall through him, and there was nothing you could do. And then, of course, when you begin the final showdown, he just randomly rises up out of the sand. It just looks ridiculous. So yeah, they didn't do a good job with Gemaran in that game. If you ended up with really, really glitchy stuff in this game, like, let's say, for instance, the same amount of glitchy behavior from 3 Ultimate was instead present in Portable Third, I would give it a pass, because it's a PSP game, but come on. 3 Ultimate? It just wasn't a good showing. It wasn't a... it did not meet the standard, is what I would say. Still hoping for a re-release of 4 Ultimate. I don't believe it for 1 second. I mean, unless... I don't think Capcom is going to revisit anything from Monster Hunter pre-World unless they become so acutely disillusioned with the backlash from the community that they decide to revisit it for ideological reasons, for reasons relating to, I guess, an affection for something that was celebrated by a consistent group of people rather than something that just drew criticism and split communities and... yeah, I don't know. And then also there's the cynic in me that says they don't give a shit about any of that. You people buy the games anyway, so who gives a fuck? But anyway. Epic Hunting Quest. Crows, Proof of the Strongest. Is this... Epic Hunting Quest. Is there such a thing? Oh, I see. You've got epic hunts in the DLC list as well. Well, what are the monsters? Yes, but you have to remember, N10, that the random-ass niche port for Freedom Unite came much sooner after the release of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate than, say, now compared with the release of 4 Ultimate. Sorry, did I say Freedom Unite? Let me rephrase everything that I just said. Freedom Unite getting a random release happening in, what was it? I think 2011 or 2012, the iOS version came out. That was much sooner to the release of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite than, say, 4 Ultimate to today. So, I think the passage of time, more than anything, would be a rebuttal to that point, but I don't know. You could be right. They didn't support it either. That's the sad thing. The iOS version went offline, I don't know when, 2019 or something? Which is understandable because the nature of the iOS ecosystem is such that it needs constant updates to remain on the, what do they call it? The iOS store? Don't remember what it's called now. Anyway, the store that you go to, the App Store. Is it just called the App Store? Probably. Yeah, they definitely require constant updates for those games, so obviously Capcom wasn't willing to do that. Well, I suppose the reason why they did iOS of all platforms is that... Here's my theory. So, point one, the Apple ecosystem is huge in Japan. Very, very popular. Big uptake in Japan. Second of all, Capcom was looking at how to modernize the portable gaming allure of, say, second generation Monster Hunter, which of course was also very, very popular in Japan. So they were probably trading on A, nostalgia, and B, prior success by trying to bring Freedom Unite into the hands of portable Japanese gamers once again by putting it on iOS. A pretty good idea. Whether or not it was successful in Japan, I don't know, and I don't especially care. Because why would I want to play Monster Hunter on a touchscreen? Why would anyone want to play Monster Hunter on a touchscreen? But yeah, the reality is that they were not willing to support the game for as long as they really should have. You can't get it on iOS anymore. So, I think you can still download it. And maybe you need a, what do they call it again? It's not jailbroken iPhone. What else? Or is it jailbroken? No, it's not jailbroken. What's the word? Maybe it is jailbroken. Anyway, the point is that in normal circumstances, you can't get the game anymore. I didn't even see what is going on in this quest, so I'm just going to bring Longsword. I'm going to bring the Tessaiga. Not that. Where is it? Tessaiga D, there you go. Which was, of course, replaced by the Tenebra in Tri. That is definitely a name. Innocuous Olitude. What a name. That's the sort of name I would have come up with when I was 13. Although I don't know what Olitude is. I've never heard of that word. It's probably not real. Let's have a look. Olitude, is that a word? Let's find out. No, it's not. Well, you don't need to feel bad for not knowing what it is because it's not a word, so there you go. I would like to amend that by saying I would not have made a name like that because I didn't make up words when I was a kid. Or I tried not to anyway. Proof of the strongest. Do we have to do this quest? I'm really not a fan of multi-monster arena hunts, but I'll do it, I guess. If it's one at a time, though, I'm all for it, because those are dead easy. Almost to the point of being boring, actually. But we'll see how it goes. Alright. Yeah, Innocuous Solitude, there you go. I didn't see the double S, though. Innocuous Solitude. It doesn't really mean much, does it? Innocuous Solitude. That's another way of saying that. There's another word that's coming to mind. It's, oh, don't worry. I'm hoping for one monster at a time. Let's cross our fingers. What have we got? You think Zod's got smoke bombs? It is one at a time. Or at the very least it begins with Rathalos, and then we might get 2 spawning at the same time for the next round. We'll see how we go. Need to find the right moment to do a spirit combo here. I think we've got a trap down, given the constant signaling. Or do we not? What were you pinging for, though? Oh no, I think it was Kushala who was pinging. Mr. Yellow player. You agreed on something in chat? Oh. Okay, you guys are having a very lengthy discussion, which I don't feel like reading at this time. Can I get this combo out? Yes, I can. Thanks to a very helpful flinch. Oh. Yeah, it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to go for a combo, though. Ah, damn it, I'm off position. I would feel bad for him, but he's one of 3 monsters, so it really was quite predictable. How many times do I need to be pinged in this channel? My god. What have we got? So... Anyway. Yeah. Well, Zod was like, you forgot it was me? Well, yeah. I did forget it was him because he changed his name. Who would have thought? BDC. Sounds like a sex position. Well, maybe not a sex position. Maybe a fetish. Or maybe the name of a serial killer, BTK. Bind, torture, kill. I could definitely imagine Zod as a serial killer. Definitely wouldn't stretch the elasticity of my imagination too far. Sounds like something relating to STDs, yeah. Well, I got some video recommended yesterday about some guy's extensive gun collection, which I watched. American guy, obviously. And, he was talking about STIs, and I'm just sitting there going, that is a very, very unfortunate acronym. And of course, the way he was talking about it as well, he's like, this was my first STI, and I'm thinking, mate, keep it to yourself. I mean, I'm here for guns, not for that sort of personal information. I still don't know what an STI is in relation to firearms, and I really don't care. I like firearms, but mostly historical ones, not modern ones. When I see modern firearms, all I see is first-person shooter gaming, and I just can't take it seriously, I'm sorry. It's my fault, of course. It's not the fault of gaming, it's not the fault of anyone other than myself. All I see is video gaming when I see modern guns. Because of course they get the models perfectly right in video games. So when you see one in real life, it's just, okay, there it is. It's the exact thing. Anyway. Ow. Evasive Fade Slash and a roll. I do really enjoy Fade Slash into a side roll. It's got a bit of a look to it, you know. It was probably the most dynamic, well, not the most dynamic thing you could do in third generation Monster Hunter, but it definitely came across that way. In terms of moving about with freedom, it was probably about as dynamic as third generation got before getting into fourth. And then obviously things completely shat the bed in fifth. Oh dear. That was a dodgy moment. By the way, one at a time. No problem. Easy quest. Very easy. Again, as I say, easy to the point of being quite unengaging. Not particularly stimulating. I mean, we've got a very drab dirt field, and we're fighting very weak versions, or very low HP versions of monsters one at a time. I mean, I don't know what about this experience would compel anyone to post it on the board, but that's just me. That's how I feel about it. It's just boring. If you're doing it for materials, that obviously makes sense, but if you're doing it for fun, you've lost me. I don't get the enjoyment. Because it feels like less of a hunt, if you understand. If I'm looking for the monster in the locale, and then it's fleeing from me within the locale, it feels like a hunt. It feels like what I want in a Monster Hunter game. If I'm going into a dirt pit and just there's a monster there and I beat on it for 2 minutes and it's dead, I mean, what's that? It's not quite what I want, is the answer. And then I get to stand around and wait for the next one to come. It's shit. It's shit, I'm sorry. I needn't sugarcoat it. It's not a very exciting way to play Monster Hunter, but that's what we've got today, so we'll do it. I mean, one question that could be asked is, do I prefer this to mucking about with two monsters at the same time in this arena? I don't know, is the answer. I dislike both experiences, so it's a bit like choosing between drinking piss and eating shit. I don't deeply dislike arena hunts if I'm doing it for materials, but if I'm doing it for fun, I really don't like it. The reason why it's good for materials is because it's more efficient, time-wise. If you've got a good arena hunt that you can do for a monster, you obviously get to cut out all the time that you would otherwise be spending looking for the monster or pursuing it. So therefore it's more efficient. But if I'm hunting for fun, I'm not getting much out of it. Or I'm not getting as much out of it as I would like to be. Well, fortunately, got a flinch there to ensure that my final slash got on target. Duax69 is asking if I can kick Kushala so that he can join. I don't even know who you are. Duax69. I wouldn't kick Kushala. He's... If, for instance, I had no one to play with, I'd be playing with him and he would be keeping the live stream alive, so I wouldn't kick him. So, there you have it. I regret to say that, given that the room is not under my jurisdiction, I have no control over it. I will say that I cannot help you. You will have to wait until someone leaves, of their own volition. He's the French guy. I don't know who that is. That doesn't narrow it down. Apparently Crazy Diamond is mad at you because you've been shelling him. Oh no, he's been shelling you because you shot him off the boat. Well, you shouldn't have done that then. To be honest, shooting people off the boat is funny if you know the person, but if you're doing it to a random guy, it's just got to look like griefing. In fact, I wouldn't say it looks like griefing, I'd say it is griefing. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, is a duck. It's griefing behavior, so I'm not surprised that he's pissed. Ow. Managed to get caught on the very first frames of that tail swing though. As for the effectiveness of this longsword, it's actually not that good, to be honest. It may not even be the best raw longsword in the game. But I use it because it's interesting. It's got a sort of mystique to it, almost. Not because it's from Inuyasha. There's not much mystique when it comes to Inuyasha. At least not for me. But the fact that I was aware of it in Monster Hunter Tri before Portable Third came out, and not just this weapon, but all of the Japanese DLC weapons, or event weapons, I should say. I hate saying DLC, that's like a more recent term that I use, because it's what is used in the PSP community in Hunsterverse, but event is the better term. All of the Japanese event weapons that I couldn't use while playing Monster Hunter Tri, I was always fascinated by, and I really wanted to use them. And then when Portable Third came out, I was really, really happy because I could finally use these weapons. I mean, I use the word finally, but it wasn't, not that much time had passed. Something like 7 months between the moment I first played Tri and then the moment I played Portable Third, so yeah, it wasn't that long, but it still felt tantalizing. It still felt like there were these weapons that I just couldn't use because I wasn't Japanese or whatever. And quite frankly, there wouldn't have even been an option, or at least not a sensible option for me to play Tri in Japanese in those days because it was subscription-based. Oh my god. Imagine having to pay a subscription to play an online Wii game. Fuck off. Hey! Gold Crown Large Rattlers. That was a good hunt. Pretty useful. TLC feels like a derogatory term at this point. I suppose it is, yeah. With the way the the gaming community has been using the word. Koshala, maybe you've pissed off this crazy diamond guy enough to make him leave of his own accord, which will allow Mr. Croissant over here to join the room. We'll see. The Chosen One. Oh, great. So remember what I was talking about when I said that doing a single monster at a time in an arena hunt for a long duration? Yeah. Remember when I said that was boring? Well, we're going to get an even more boring version. Because it's 4 monsters. Holy shit. Okay, what can I bring that will make this fun? Something really random, something, almost a joke loadout. If I have a joke loadout in this game, I would love to bring it now. Just gonna look through my list. I really don't. I'm now in the awkward position of anything that I end up choosing will look like I'm calling it a joke loadout. And I think it's going to be Crouch Fire Element. It's not a joke. I think Crouch Fire Element has its place. It's just not usable in all situations, that's all. Now, what are the monsters? I don't remember. The room is full. So there's someone... Wait, who's Choo Choo? And Lilac, I don't know who these people are. Looks like we've had 2 room snipers. Can someone politely tell them to fuck off? That would be helpful. I mean, I do realise that I just described the hunt as very boring, but I would still like to do it. That's the French guy? Okay, so he's just invited himself into the room then. I was joking about Diamond being angry enough to leave the room. He hasn't actually done that. At least as far as I'm aware. I don't know why he's only being described as French guy. I mean, I don't know who this French guy is. Oh, I will just keep trying. Maybe you guys can kick him if he refuses to leave. Kashala says, why hasn't he surrendered his position yet? I do wonder. Why has he not vacated? Suppose I can share the Discord chat. Oh, the guy was kicked. 1 vote from... What's his face? Joe. Joe? Is this the French guy? That doesn't look French. Oh, no quest was created. Okay. Well, that's illuminating. Alright, let's try. Try again. It used to be the case that if you had only been in a room for a short time, you weren't able to just vote to kick someone out like that. But I guess it's been changed. What's going on? Oh, they've just left the guy in here. Okay. Maybe he'll leave now. Okay. Gathering Hall 16. What's that? Oh. Very good. I thought it was a different character. Who is Lilac? This is becoming ridiculous. So is Lilac the French person or not? I guess not. How is this person following us? It's someone very intentionally sniping us. So it can't be Lilac then. Hold on, let me check. This must be the French guy. Either that or Zod doesn't realize that this person is now part of our group. I don't know. Yeah, so Lilac is the French guy. And then he killed the other person, or rather, I shouldn't say killed, he kicked the other person. Alright. I just need to establish this first. Okay. Look, I'm just going to leave it as is. It's easier to leave it as is than try to argue it, but I'm not really impressed that Lilac, this French guy, basically said, "Can I join?" to me, and then essentially forced his way in and then refused to leave without consideration for whether or not someone else was already playing with us and had a much better stake in the situation than him. Like, I just don't really understand that. Anyway, so like obviously the person who's been playing with us for, let's say, 5 quests has more of a right to be in the room than some random guy turning up saying, "Hey, can I join?" I don't particularly care who it is. Anyway, what am I doing? I'm checking to see what monsters are in the quest, and then I will bring ammunition accordingly. Okay. Quest info. Purple Ludroth, Baleful, Giganox, Agnoktor, Jade Baroth. So 2 monsters that are weak to fire. 1 monster that is, I guess, 2 monsters that are weak to water. Yeah, okay. So fire and water, that'll do. And then combination materials for those. Still wet fish, right? Yeah, it is. Need to make space for these materials, though. I'll make space for normal shots as well, for the event where I run out of elemental shots. Alright, time for a boring-ass hunt. You guys ready? Oh no, it is 2 at a time. Okay, it's slightly less boring than I was suggesting. It looks like they're pairing the Fire Weak and the Water Weak monsters. That's fine. Ooh. Not really how I wanted to use my shield, but fine. We've got 2 sleep meats down, which is dumb. You never put down 2 of the same status of meat. It doesn't increase the chance of the monster eating it. What it does, however, do is just... Okay, this is ridiculous. It was probably put down as a joke, actually. I just initially assumed that it wasn't a joke because a lot of people do actually do that, thinking that it helps somehow. To explain what I mean, if you put down 2 sleep meats, or even 3, which is even more ridiculous, the second one is not going to induce sleep. It's just going to feed the monster, which is pointless. And as I say, it doesn't increase the chance of the monster eating it because there's multiple on the ground. Need to be aware of these ranged Giganox attacks. Oh. I'm actually quite glad that I've got Quick Sheath on this set. Makes life a bit easier. Ooh. Wasn't exactly well played by me, though. So my shots will be mostly aimed at the main and the face. I'm hoping they're the main elemental weak points. I don't imagine that there would be any others. Like, for example, why would the front leg, for example, be more susceptible to fire than the mane or the face? So, my main concern would be the mane not actually necessarily being weak to fire. I could have also brought Thunder, I suppose, for Ludroth. That way I could have saved my ammunition for the Agnaktor. In saying that, I could probably shoot some normal shots on the Ludroth to conserve my ammo. Oh my god. Something about... do you know what I would say? It makes more sense to aim for the Giganox primarily and then deal with the Ludroth as a sort of distraction, because Giganox is a terrible distraction to have on the side, because he can just shoot these long-ranged paralysis shots. It's honestly terrifying. Alright. I'm going to switch to normal shots now. Just for the Ludroth. I do have my combination materials as well, but it just feels more sensible to conserve ammo for the Agnaktor, as he will be the stronger of the two. And there goes the Ludroth. So I don't often use this loadout because when it comes to heavy bowgun, I do prefer mobility over relying on a shield. Crouch fire is nice, but it does depend on the monster sometimes for whether or not I would personally want to use crouch fire. But if you're using a shield, crouch fire can be okay. Kushala, can you just move, man? That was much more effective. Wow. Oh, well, I suppose people were attacking the Giganox already. What now? Oh. Well, I've still got flaming shots, so... I'll get you to give me them soon. But thank you for bringing them. I'll do my combinations now, actually. Oops. Probably should have brought 3 combo books. Ended up making some garbage with that. Oh. I got around the wrong way, but that's fine. Same elemental weakness. So it's Jade Baroth and regular Agnaktor, so... Flaming shots for the Baroth, obviously. Of course, the principle behind shielding with a heavy bowgun is that you can't have shot too recently in order to successfully shield. I think it has to be a full second without having shot in order for it to work. There could even be 2 seconds. It's a bit off-putting that Baroth's crown is that shiny. You see how it catches the light? Just doesn't look realistic. I guess they're trying to say that it's icy. That's why it has that texture, but I don't know. I suppose if they're saying that that it's got a sort of icy, what's the word, coating to it, then that works. So you can see because I had shot, it didn't allow me to also shield. Alright, I have to actually watch Akhnaktor now to make sure he doesn't fire a beam at me. Seems that we have essentially split up into 2 groups here. I think that was a little bit less so the case in the previous hunt, but... or the previous 2 monsters that we were fighting. I definitely need to keep on top of my health with this defense. I'm assuming this is a fully upgraded armor set, it's just... it's got some low-level pieces on it. Well, it's still high rank, but just not very good. Jaggy obviously is not going to have very good gunner defense. Oh no. I do not have guard up, and even if I did have guard up, I don't think I'd be able to block that with a bowgun shield. I think guard up is not actually going to affect a bowgun shield. I remember asking that question of myself some time ago and establishing that it would not work. This is very annoying, actually. Akhnaktor is a very annoying second monster to deal with while you're focused on another one. Mainly because of those beams. They're obviously very long range. Kushala, could I have more fire shots when you're ready? May not really be necessary because I don't imagine that the Baroth will be lasting for much longer. Yeah, don't worry about the fire shots. But thanks for bringing them. Obviously not great positioning on my part. I don't even think that's tinged meat, that's just regular meat. So it definitely was placed as a joke. One of them actually just ceased to exist. So if you wanted to know how roughly, how long roughly it takes for meat to disappear, 10 minutes. If you place meat on the ground, it will disappear after 10 minutes. Which is something that I hadn't really thought about, because it sort of makes sense for traps to disappear, but maybe anything that you place on the ground, whether it be a bomb, meat, etc. It has a finite period in which it will be there. Eventually it will disappear. Or despawn. Might be the more technical term. Probably just should have kept my weapon out. My reason for putting it away is that I feel that I could just get trapped if I were to keep my shield out. I'd just be stuck behind this shield that doesn't block all damage, and it might actually kill me if the monster decides to remain focused on me. Well, there you go. It was a little bit annoying, but not too bad. Is this Mega Potions? Well, it's useful. I will definitely carve them all. I have to say, Brute Tigrex is not a common monster for weaponry that is used by people. I mean, really, I don't think I've ever seen it in this game. Maybe Tigrex weapons just upgrade into Black Tigrex. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been much of a Tigrex weapon person. Alright, so it's been a bit less than 2 hours, for which I apologise, but I will conclude the live stream here. I just don't really feel like continuing. I probably should have eaten before recording. I'm just a bit out of energy now. These are pretty good drops. Well, I'm not going to say that the drops are good, but it's nice when a rewards box is multicolored like that. It just feels more satisfying, I suppose. Alright. That's it for this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll try to do at least one of these a week going forward. But, yeah. It'll be a little while until I'm doing the 3DS games again. It'll just be PSP, I think, for the next month or so. Anyway, I will see you all next time I'm recording the Endgame, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Goodbye for now.